Welcome to another episode of the Writer's Game podcast where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. I have a question before we get started. What if you began to believe, really believe that everything God was saying about you was true? Like, what if you really got to the point where you began to believe everything that God said about you? Who would you be? What would you become? Would you be able to navigate the circumstances that you're in right now? Would you be able to turn your trauma into transformation? I'm here with a woman that is an expert in doing just that. Just recently dropped the book, and I'm so excited for her to share not only her testimony, but her techniques on how she's leveraged her belief inside, how she's been able to master these seasons of her life so that she could be able to transform the lives of so many people. Zaneeka, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am literally fantastic. If I was any better, it'd probably be a crime. Literally. I feel great. I
I
really
love that. I love that.
So before we get started, could you talk to us a little bit about how would you define the word belief and faith?
Belief and faith. Wow. I do believe that belief and faith go hand in hand. I believe that we have faith because we believe.
Mm,
So, as it relates to belief, I believe that our beliefs are a set of ideas that causes us to move in a specific direction, or it will cause inaction. So I believe that those beliefs come from certain spaces of our lives, either from our family, from what we believe as it relates to religion, what we believe about the world. But I believe that all of these beliefs are ideas about a thing, which causes us to either move towards a certain direction or not move at all.
mm. Talk to me a little bit about a moment that you can remember in your life where you had to lean on belief and faith to be able to
Mm.
get to the next season of your life where you actually believe that you could be.
I would say writing the book. During that time, it was so hard. And you know a bit about the story, and I'll share it here. I know Kyle says that I'm an expert at this. An experienced person in belief because I believe that life gives us opportunity to believe in something greater so that we can become better and experience better in our lives. And while I was writing the book, one in 2019, the Lord told me that I would write a book. And I started writing the book in 2020. And I met Kyle a little bit after that time, maybe 2021 or at the end of 2020,
Yeah.
we met. And I'm like, I'm writing this book. But also during that time, I was a caregiver for my grandmother who was literally in transition from being here and passing away. So it was really hard for me to continue writing the book knowing that at some point she would not be here anymore. She means so much to me. So I believe that during that time I had this knowingness, this belief that God had told me to write this book and that I needed to have it published, that not only would it do something for my life, transform the lives of others, but then also I had this circumstance of my grandmother in transition. So we got to a point where belief was up against circumstance, right? So I had to make a decision if I was going to ride on this belief despite my circumstance or allow the circumstance to overtake my belief. And in that moment, make a choice. And I made a choice to lean into what I believed. And I believed that God had called me to write this book and that it would change the lives of others and my life as well. And I was able to leave a legacy for my son that you can do this too. You can write a book. So it was really hard, but I just made a decision and I had to keep making the decision. And I needed people like to hold me accountable as yourself, to keep making that decision to continually write this book, to write out my belief. I believe that our beliefs show up in what we do.
Mm,
So because I believed that I was called to write this book, it showed up in my action.
that's good.
Yeah.
I think that is so powerful to say our beliefs essentially show up in what we do, right? Um, and I believe that what we believe about ourselves then create the decisions and the actions that kind of follow after that. You know, you've been in a very transitional period. There's been some things that have happened within the last few years that have not just shaken you emotionally and mentally, but have probably shaken up your faith and spirituality as well. When you think about this journey of believing everything that God says about you, what do you now believe about yourself that you didn't believe when you were going through some of the toughest circumstances?
That I can do great things in hard times. That I can do great things in hard times. I am, and not to in a conceited or cocky way, but I am resilient. I am something amazing to be able to continue in what I've been experiencing even before the book was published. Right before I was at the end of it, my son's father passed away. So within 90 days, I lost my grandmother, and then my son's father passed away. So I became a single mother overnight, right? So what I learned through all of this is that I can do great things in hard times, that I am something amazing. I am an immaculate creation, that there is greatness on the inside of me. And if I dare to push forward, if I dare to keep going, then I can see it every time. So I learned that I am amazing. I am amazing. I really am.
What did it take for you to begin to trust in these affirmations that you're giving yourself? I think that somebody right now is listening,
Mm,
and they're going through that tough time, they're going through that challenge, and they have affirmations, but they say them, but it's not really invested in who they are. Kind of walk me through that process.
wow. I believe that the first thing that came to my mind was that you have to give yourself permission to get through,
Oh,
to get through. I think we don't know. I know that we don't know who we truly are until we actually get through. There are circumstances and things that happen in our lives that are designed for us to experience the greater version of ourselves. But if we don't give ourselves permission to go through, then we will never experience the greater version of ourselves, thus believing who God says we are. It doesn't always come in the easy. Sometimes it happens in the hard times. It happens in the pressing times. Literally, when life is squeezing you, it's something out of you.
that's
It's
good.
revealing something about yourself that you didn't even know was there.
That's good.
So I believe that in those the ugly times, the hard times where things aren't always on the up and up, is where we actually get to see the truth that we are who we are, affirming ourselves. And I believe when it comes to affirmations, Kyle, I believe that entire universe is conspiring to bring all of that to pass when we are speaking it. So
Mm,
we may not see it right there in that moment, but it may be a year or two later that we'll actually see it manifest if we keep walking this thing out, if we keep speaking it and we keep believing it. Believing has nothing to do with our feelings.
nah, it
It
doesn't.
actually has nothing to do with evidence.
Mm,
It's an internal factor. It's something that I can't even explain with words, but it's internal, and we're all created to believe.
of
We're
course.
all created to believe.
In your book, you have 12 chapters. And in my opinion, it's kind of like the 12 stages or the 12 steps to being able to master this belief process. In your book, what would you say you're most proud of in regards to the information or the journey that you share that you would like to share with someone today?
I'm most proud of how vulnerable I was. It's very difficult to write and share your story that includes the story of others. So I believe that my book is more of a guide. It is a guide that will show my readers how to overcome unbelief and to tap into belief. But I use personal story which can connect with many readers on how to navigate through the hard times, how to navigate through the challenges, how to navigate through the negative words that were spoken over you. So the premise of the book is how I uncovered the truth about my identity, because I lived in a I was under a lie. I lived under a lie for so long. And I won't sit here and say, and I say this at the end of the book, and I absolutely despise when we get on platforms or stages in this this sense of I got it or I made it. I made it to one stage and I'm making it each stage because you know what? After I wrote the book, there was another set of lies that came that I had to tackle. And as I continually elevate, there will be more lies that I'll have to tackle. And my book is a blueprint of how to keep doing that over and over and over again in your life as you go from stage to stage because you're going to continually evolve.
You said something earlier that, you started affirming to yourself and kind of declaring these things over your life. And I think that was so beautiful. What is an affirmation that you wish you heard more often?
Mm. So in my book, I share how I grew up in a single parent household, and the words of my mother were not affirming at all. I actually um, believed early on that I was not worthy, that I did not have value, because I was in comparison with my sister at all times, and my sister always came out on top, you know? So I never felt like I had anything that I could offer the world or any, or even my household. So it started at home. I felt like I didn't have anything to offer there. So why would I believe that I had anything to offer the world? So I believe one affirmation was I am worthy. I am worthy and I am valuable. I am valuable. I offer value. I add value everywhere. That's one. I add value everywhere I go. I add value everywhere I go. Absolutely.
That's good. Well, Zaneeka, you definitely are worthy and
Thank
super valuable. And if anybody is listening right now, this woman is really transforming lives. And there's been so many seasons of my life where I've either listened or conversed or just observed how you operate and how resilient that you are. And you've been able to pour so much value into me. And I'm appreciative of that as well. So I just want to give you your flowers there.
thank
Um,
you.
through this journey of life, whether it's professional or personal, there's been so many lessons that we have to learn through the process. In your opinion, what is the lesson that is taking you the longest to learn?
Mm, I believe that quick obedience. Obedience. Do it right away. When God says do it, do it. There is such a reward in obedience that when we do it right away, not just for ourselves, but even for others. So I believe that quick obedience has been like the hardest lesson in life for me to learn, and I'm still learning it over and over again. But the reward is just so it's so out of this world, you know. So I would say, yeah, quick obedience right away.
No, I love that. I think that, one thing that I always say is that somebody else's destiny is attached to your obedience. And
Yeah,
who are you blocking from receiving their blessing because you're out of alignment with what God is calling you to be able to do?
right.
For me, it's been able to help me shift my environment, and not just with people, but mental environments and, spiritual environments as well. And I've now created kind of main characters and supporting characters in this new story that I've taken advantage of. When you think about your life right now, who are some of the main characters and supporting characters in your story?
So the main character is God all day, every day. Main character. I could not even exist without my relationship with God. He is my all in all. And then the supporting characters are my son. He just gives me so much motivation. I have this thing for legacy, and I know that God has placed it in my heart. I just want to live a life that is worthy and that they can look and see my mother did it, my grandmother did it, my great grandmother, look at all the phenomenal things she did, and because she did it, I know that I can do it. And just clearing a path for the generations to come, so the generations to come. And then also my friends, my family are definitely supporting, as well as those that I get to serve. They are supporting characters in this story because without them I would really have no purpose because I am called to them. So definitely my supporting characters.
That's good. That's good. I think that I was on an episode earlier this week, and I was talking to a gentleman just about the importance of telling stories, and we were going back and forth, and I told him that, whether it's storytelling, creating, innovating, whatever, there's a child, there's a youthful approach that you have to take with everything in regards to
Mhm.
your imagination and your innovation.
Yes.
And I think it allows you to first connect with other people, because I believe we connect with stories and experiences, but also it allows you to have fun and operate in your purpose. So we're
Yeah.
going to get to a rapid fire exercise. I'm excited.
I'm nervous.
I'm going to give you 3 words. You're going to have 5 seconds to think about a beginning, middle, and end of a short story using those 3 words. You can go any type of way that you would want to go. It just has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
So I'm actually creating a story with these
Oh,
3 words.
yeah, and you're going to use a story and create a story live right now with those 3 words. So
Okay.
I'm gonna pick I'm gonna pick the 3 words. So the first word is clock. The second word is, based upon what I'm looking around, is book, and the third word is healing. Healing. So with your story, you just have to have a beginning, middle, and end. You could use whatever characters. It could be whatever it is that you want to do. And I want people that are listening right now, as she's thinking about what she's going to talk about, to really get comfortable with being okay with being a child again. And these are the things that connect you with other people. Be comfortable with taking risks. Be comfortable in showing the parts of yourself that you feel like need to be hidden for certain people, because they don't. And your velocity is attached to your vulnerability. And you're willing to be authentic, whether it's on stage or in your household or in a boardroom. So that's all the time I'm going to give you, Zaneeka, because I know you was thinking. So, all right, we're going to go in 3, 2, go.
Once upon a time, there was a clock. It was beautiful and abstract. It was created by an artist. Artist gave the clock a book, and the clock would read the book day in and day out. And the more the clock read the book, the more the art expanded on the clock. The clock began to grow into this beautiful, beautiful painting with different colors, different designs, and different sways. And once created or finished the book, the clock realized that with every line, with every brush, with every color, the clock was healing.
Whoo! That's bars right there. That's good. That was good. That was good. Nah, that's dope. Yeah, it's so funny because every single story that I hear could be like a children's book. It's like a whole line of books. That was good. I have a question for you. What was the inspiration behind that story? Walk me through your process in sharing.
Mm. So when you said clock, book, and healing, the first honestly came to my mind, I'm not even gonna lie, was the riddle that we used to hear, the mouse ran up the clock. That was the first thing that came to my mind. But as I didn't really think too much into it. But when I started talking, I was thinking about the gift of a book and time together. And when we have a book of life and we have time with the book of life, then that produces healing. And the colors represent all the things that we experience throughout our lives. Like we are canvases, and life just all over us. And sometimes it's not so beautiful, but at the end of it, it is such a beautiful canvas. It's such a beautiful piece of art, because it produces, there's healing that's produced from that book of life, if you give it time.
That was powerful, Zaneeka. That was powerful. That was powerful. Very powerful. Anybody listening to this right now, whether you're watching the live or watching the recording, I need you to comment below on how fired that story was in
Wow.
no time, no preparation time. So once this goes live, oh, I'm ready. I'm
I'm
ready. I'm ready.
excited.
That's so fire. When you think about the gift of life, right? When you think about the gifts that we have,
Yeah.
what is one gift you believe that God has given you that it is up to you to share with the world?
The first thing I think about is my heart,
Mm,
my desire to love. I love to love. And so I believe that that is one gift that God has given me. And I can love through different things. I can love through giving. I can love through a hug. I can love through my writing. I can love through affirming my son. I can love through different things, but I believe that love is the greatest gift that I've ever been given to give to others. And yeah, I just want to live my life giving love
of
in
course.
different ways. Yeah.
When you think about who you've become, you know, you've experienced certain things as a child growing up. You've experienced things as a mother, as someone involved in so many different aspects in the community, as a business owner, um, and all of these different hats that you wear. What one thing did you have to learn? And I mean, it was absolutely essential to learn that took you a while, that was necessary to learn so that you could become the person that people see you as today?
Mm. I had to learn that, again, going back to who I am, I had to learn that I have a purpose, I have a calling, and it is necessary. When you know that what you're called to do is necessary, there's a different type of fire that you have. There's a different type of demand you put on life because you have to get it out. This cannot stay with me. This cannot stay in me. It has to come out of me. So when I realized that I have value to add to this world, that there is a call and a purpose on my life, and that I have to get it out, I believe that that's the difference. And that has been the one thing that has taken the longest for me to realize about myself, because I had to go through this process, that Zaneeka, there is something that you got to get out here. Like, you have something that the world requires and that the world needs. And I'll just share this quick story. I went to a meditation class a few years ago, and the instructor had us to close our eyes, and he said, I want you to picture the people that are out there, what their response would be if you never walk in your purpose. And I saw this big crowd of people weeping, literally crying. And this is years before I even took any steps to doing what I needed to do. But I will never forget that. And just knowing how they were weeping and how they were crying because I didn't do what I was called to do brought tears to my eyes. And I began to cry during that meditation session. So knowing that I add value everywhere I go and that it's needed, is necessary, is definitely that one thing for me.
That is such a powerful exercise.
Mhm.
And it's really shaking me up too, because I think a lot of times we get so complacent in where we are, not recognizing and realizing that the work is not done yet. And we have so much more left in the tank that is required from us.
Yeah.
We just take action, and faith is great and vision is amazing, but if you don't take action and implement the steps that you've been given in the period of time that you have in this limited time on earth, then you're not going to be able to honor God in the way that He deserves to be honored. And
Yeah.
you're going to be able to transform people in the way that they need to be transformed. What would be one piece of advice that you would give to someone that is on the fence of their current circumstance, their vision for wanting more, but this internal fear that they may be not good enough?
Wow. I think I've been there in that place. What would I say to myself during that time? I believe that, honestly, Kyle, sometimes it's not a purpose problem. Many times it's an identity problem. So I believe that the world has created, or society has created, this notion that we have in a purpose crisis. But purpose has been with us since the beginning. We actually operate in purpose, don't know it. And many times it's just an identity crisis, because when we know who we are, We move differently. If you see a lion is not intimidated by things in the jungle, because it understands who it is, right? If we see a business owner, and that business owner understands who he is or who she is, they're not intimidated to walk in the boardroom because they understand the assignment connected to their identity. So I would say in all is to really anchor down. I know that we don't all share the same beliefs, but I believe that our identity is God. He said, I created you in my image and my likeness. Do you know how wonderful you are? Do you know how magnificent and how majestic you are? Once we get the identity part right, there is little that can stop us. There's this resiliency that comes from knowing this inner knowingness of who we are. I would say buckle down in identity. Buckle down in identity, because when you buckle down in identity, it's almost like a rocket. There's this fuel that you get, and when you get that fuel, you're off. You're off and you're out of here. So in circumstances, it's a small thing at that point. I know who I am. I know that I'll overcome this. What's up?
That is interesting. But a transformational perspective. It's not that we have a purpose problem. We've been given that. We've been operating in it. We just don't know who the hell we are.
Right.
And when we don't know who we are, we operate in misalignment, and then we're taking on opportunities and doing all of these different things, and they serve really as distractions towards our destiny, rather than buckling down on identifying who you are, who God sees you as, and then really going 100% in that area, and then everything will be opened up for you and after that. And that's so interesting.
Yeah.
What is, I think that in life it's all about questions and getting the necessary answers that can solve the necessary problems in the world and people around us. What is one question that you've been actively trying to get the answer to, and if you got the answer to it, it would change the world around you?
Mm. And you know what? One thing about me is that I really don't question a lot of things. I believe that everything has a purpose. Question I did have, and this is for laughs, is why do churches put the mean people at the door as ushers?
All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
That'll change the world. More people might come to church. Don't be ushers at the door.
That's fair.
Yeah, really don't have one that has been like a burning question for me that I feel like would change the world. I think, you know what, I think I do. It hasn't been specific, but I always wonder why people don't um, pursue the that is available for them. Because I think now that I know the benefit of healing and going through the healing process, how it opens up our eyes to see things better. It's like, why doesn't everybody go through this healing process so that they can become better? Because I believe that there's a world of healed people. We'll have a better world. We'll have less crime. We'll have less broken homes. We will have less experiences like mine, in the world, if people actually take the time to pursue healing.
Where does the journey of healing begin, in your opinion?
Acknowledging that we're broken.
Where does
I
that
believe that. Go ahead.
where does that process begin? Because that takes a level of awareness and emotional
Yes.
intelligence that, in my opinion, nobody shoot me in the comments, 95% of people aren't willing to have. So,
And you know why?
your perspective.
And I'll tell you why. It's because of pride and ego.
Ooh.
This requires a level of vulnerability. It requires you to say that everything with me is not okay. And when pride and ego is in the way, it blinds us from seeing properly. Pride distorts our view of ourselves, but it opens us up to the view of everybody else. So I can point out the wrong in everyone else, but I am blinded to the issues that lie within. But when we humble ourselves, it opens up our eyes to see the truth of reality and what really is and what's really not. And then at that point, we're able to acknowledge that we are broken and begin the healing process.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Zaneeka, you are truly a gem.
Thank
Truly a
you.
gem. And I am super excited for where the your journey is going to continue to not just take you, but take so many people in your sphere of influence and all of your impact continuing to ripple in different communities and relationships and all around the world. If you had 30 seconds to share one message that would touch the hearts and souls of every single human being in the world, what would you communicate?
I would share that God loves you immensely. And God loves you so much so that He wants to be in relationship with you. And He wants to be in relationship with you so bad that He sent His only Son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for you, to be in relationship with you, to walk this life out with you, to journey through the hard times and the good times with you, just because He loves you. And all He asks you to do is to receive His love through His sacrifice of sending His Son to die on the cross for you. And that in that, there's a relationship that has no end, that has no boundaries, and that will always be present in any time and in any moment. That is the message that I would share, message of love.
It can't get any better than that. It can't get any better than that. Zaneeka, where can we find you?
You can find me on social media at Zaneeka Hill, or I am Zaneeka on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at I am Zaneeka, and my website at www.iamzaneeka.com.
I love it. I love it. Anybody listening right now, please follow her on all of those different platforms. Buy 3 to 4 copies of her book and then recommend it to a friend to do the same thing. We are on another episode of the Writer's Game podcast where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. Like, subscribe, and share this specific episode to all of the people that you know.